Welcome to Two Babes in a Book with Liz
and Rach. In every episode, we give a quick summary, our thoughts and content ratings for each book to help you decide if it's the right fit for you. Keep listening for a complete book discussion, and don't worry, we play music or sing, and we give you a heads up before any spoilers.
If you're lucky, we sing. Be sure to leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and feel free to follow us on Instagram at Two Babes and a Book. Today's book banter is on Dance of Thieves.
Woo, such a pretty cover.
Oh, it's so pretty. Look at that. I have a glare, but yes. Look at Rachel's picture, so much better. And the author is Mary E. Pearson, and this is a duology. This is the first book in the duology. The second one is called Vow of Thieves, which is also a very beautiful cover. It looks just like this, but it's red. Mm-hmm. So
yes, and this one, which we did not realize before we read this book. Actually, you I think knew that this was in the Remnant Chronicles universe, right?
Yes, I vaguely knew that there was a trilogy from this world, and I think I kind of knew it was like a backstory, before this took place.
Okay, I had no idea.
Time.
But obviously, you can read this book and not have read Remnant Chronicles. Like, I feel like it was totally doable. So, but we're going to go back and read that. I think it's 4, isn't it? Isn't it 4 books?
Oh, maybe. I don't know why I kept thinking it was a trilogy. I don't know. I need to learn more about it. But after reading this book, we're both interested in discovering more of this world and some of the characters in it. So.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so this book is about, this is the Goodreads blurb. When the patriarch of the Ballinger Empire dies, his son Jace becomes its new leader. Even nearby kingdoms bow to the strength of this outlaw family, who have always governed by their own rules. But a new era looms on the horizon, set in motion by a young queen, which makes her the target of the dynasty's resentment and anger. At the same time, Kazi, a legendary former street thief, is sent by the queen to investigate transgressions against the new settlements. When Kazi arrives in the forbidding land of the Ballingers, she learns that there is more to Jace than she thought. As unexpected events spiral out of their control, bringing them intimately together, they continue to play a cat and mouse game of false moves and motives in order to fulfill their own secret missions.
Love it.
So what was your overall rating for this one?
My overall rating was 4.5 out of 5. Did you think mine would be lower? Because you were kind of surprised when you saw my overall rating.
Yeah, the only reason I thought it might be lower is because you tend to not be as giving with your stars as I am. You're like, you're a harsher critic, which I don't think is a bad thing. So, but yeah, so I feel like it means a lot that you gave it 4.5. So
yes.
Yeah. So, and I give it a 5 out of 5 because, I loved it. It was really good. So awesome. What's your one word?
My one word, if this can count as one word, hyphenated, action-packed.
I think it counts. We'll allow it. It's our podcast. We can do it.
We're flexible with that one word. Yeah, a lot happens in this book. The pace is really good.
The chapter sizes are really short. I liked that for the most part. I felt like they were good.
Yeah, the chapters are really good length, which is good because it's a really long book. And skipping forward, that was something I did not like as much about this book as well. It was kind of long.
Yes.
But there's so much that happens. And I feel like most of it's important. I mean, we can talk more about that in the spoiler section. Like, it's not like she rambled on about pointless stuff.
Yeah. It all seemed to have, it wasn't like, so you weren't feeling like it was the what was that called?
I Capture the Castle?
No, the duology that you didn't like, that I loved.
Oh, the Wrath and the Dawn.
Yeah, so it wasn't like that because I remember you saying that it was like needless description that you were like, ugh.
Or just like, just on and on and on. Yeah, I enjoyed this one way more.
Mm-hmm. The writing was better, I think.
Yeah, and it starts off super action packed too.
Yeah,
and
right
where
away.
I was like surprised how fast things were going with the plot, the relationship. I was like, well, what are they going to do with the rest of this book?
But there's tons of stuff that happens.
Funny. Yes.
Yeah. So this book is like 300. No, it was 400. Wasn't it?
500 pages.
No, it wasn't 5. Was it?
Yeah, 500. Barely.
Whoa, you're
I remember
right.
because I
It
felt
did
like I
not
had
feel like
read
it.
so much and I was like, oh, I'm only on page 375 and there's 500 pages.
Yeah,
So
505 if you don't count the acknowledgments and questions at the end.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I
quite
wonder if the
long.
second book is as long.
I think so. It looked pretty similar length.
So
So I haven't
what
gotten
was
there yet,
what was your one word?
but my one word was captivating, pun intended.
I love puns.
So funny
Oh, lots of
because
captivity in this book.
yes, there is. There really like several times.
Captivating captivities.
Yeah, like things happening in captivity where like, and it's sometimes Jace is the one that's captive, sometimes it's Kazi, sometimes it's both of them. Like there's like a lot of captivity going on.
So true. That was a good word.
But the captivity that happens or very early on, like that's what brings them together. Like I loved the romance in this book. It was so well done.
Yes.
So
Okay, let's talk about the two tropes in here. Enemies to lovers
yes, that's true.
and forced proximity right off the
Mhm.
bat. I was
Yes.
like, okay, we're not wasting any time here.
Yep. Good tropes. Good tropes to have.
Any other tropes? Those were just my top favorite. Any other
I
tropes I
feel like I don't
missed?
remember the names of tropes
As
very
far
well.
as I know, I always just think of like tropes. I always think of like the romance category of tropes,
Yeah.
you know. We haven't really explored too many other ones in our
Yeah.
podcast. But yeah, I loved it.
Me
And
too.
the characters really, not that I didn't like them, and this is how all books are, but like I felt like the author did a really great job just like getting you invested in the characters. Like I felt
Yeah.
like I knew the two main characters so well by
Yeah.
the end of the book,
And
and you
that
just
is
love them, and
the
you love them individually and you love them together, you know.
yeah, you got to know them individually. This book does have it back and forth between Kazi's point of view and Jace's point of view. So the audio has a male voice and a female voice, which was really cool.
Oh,
And they
that's so helpful. I was going to ask you, did you like how they did that?
I
Bounce
did.
back
I
and
thought it
forth.
was really good. Yeah.
I did too, but I found myself sometimes getting confused. Like when it was Jace, I was thinking it was Kazi.
Me
How did
too.
the
Yeah.
audiobook? Did you listen to the audiobook? Is it
So the
Kazi?
audiobook, you could definitely tell. Oh, that's Kazi. I don't know. It's so similar. Kazi.
Kazi. Yeah. Tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
But it was just a few times. And I obviously pronouns help and who they're talking about and if they talk about
Right.
each other. But it's like it's so quick. I think it's because the chapters are shorter, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
times it's every other chapter. Sometimes you'll get 2 or 3 chapters of Kazi,
Yeah.
but it was like a quick back and forth. So I guess I could kind of put that under dislike. I mean, but it's a minor dislike
Yeah.
details. But I found myself kind of like my brain having to adjust to, okay, who is this?
Me too. I
Woo.
did that a couple times. More than a couple times, probably.
But I did, you're like
For being
guilty.
honest.
I did appreciate the short chapters because I think that helped with like the flow of the book, you
Yeah,
know?
I feel like if the chapters were really long, I would have not liked this book nearly as much because it was so long. So that really helped a lot.
Yay
Just
for
made it
short
worth it.
chapters. And before I forget, I felt like the author also did an amazing job with, and we saw this in Fable, and you see this in a lot of books, like especially YA books, I think. Like you see the strength of the main character.
Yeah.
They're so strong and like just hardcore women normally,
Yeah.
the books we've been reading like with Fable,
Yeah.
but like also she does such a good job with with helping the readers see the vulnerability and the weaknesses of her too. And
That's true.
I felt like it was even better than how Fable was written.
I agree.
Just with the character development and the depth of Cassie, I just really liked, you
She
know,
had a
because she
very
was,
strong flaw of not wanting to be in open spaces and the heartbreak that she experienced as a young kid that really
yes.
impacted her. Yeah. And
And I was
to
like, sometimes she would revert to that and just be like that little girl. But at the same time, she could like go on these huge missions for a queen. Like the
yeah.
queen loves her and she's just so hardcore. I don't know. It was cool to see like both sides of her, and Jace saw both sides of her too.
Yes, I loved the way that Jace, like, seeing her through his eyes, like, or vice versa. That was probably one of my favorite parts. Or like,
Yes, it's very eye-opening to their characters.
yeah, and to kind of like see, okay, Kazi's thinking these things about Jace, and it's like, oh, he's also thinking these things. And I felt like Jace was definitely like more willing to put himself out there a little more. He wasn't hiding things nearly as much as Kazi was, for good reason. But it was just interesting that he was, I mean the name of the book is Dance of Thieves. Like, they're both thieves in different ways, but they
Yes.
see the morals behind it differently.
Mhm.
So
Their cultures are so different. And I
yeah,
loved, did you
cultures.
love like the Ballinger history?
Yes, I loved that. The family dynamics of the Ballingers, like that, like
Mhm.
they had such a big family, and so they weren't able to like explore the siblings too much. But I actually feel like they did a pretty good job. Like, I didn't get them confused really, even though they had so many. So
Yeah. I felt like they did a really good job describing his family as
yeah.
well. And just, yeah, Kazi definitely had a little bit more baggage than he did, but they both obviously were holding back. Oh, and I was so happy. I guess we'll do the quotes after the content ratings, but I was going to choose the same quote you did with that ties into the title of the
Oh,
book. So
nice.
good.
Perfect.
But yeah, yeah, I loved how they were like, they both had their prejudice against each other, I guess, or
Mhm.
biases or judgments.
Pride and
And then
Prejudice, would you say?
Pride and Prejudice vibes coming through.
It's true. Enemies to lovers.
Gotta love it.
Mhm. Yeah. So I
The
also have,
girls. Did you love the female characters? The Rattan?
yes, all of
Did I
them.
did
Ren
I
and
say it right? Is
Sonoman.
it Rattan or
Raton. Yeah,
Rachel?
yeah.
Rattan. Yes. I
Yeah.
pronounced it right. I know. At
Yeah.
first,
Can I
it was
just
hard to get
say,
to know the
uh,
characters at first, I felt like.
yeah,
The
there were a lot of
military
characters, but
characters.
I wanted to give you some applause because you did not do any audio for this book, right? That's
No,
amazing for a
I know.
long book. Like,
Well, it's
round
only because I spent 8 hours, 9 hours in the car, and I didn't read it like the whole time because I watched One Tree Hill as well. Um, because luckily we had a phone charger in there, but it was only because I traveled 2 times this month, and they both landed on the times when we were reading this book. Otherwise, I would not have been able to do it. No way. No way.
Yeah, I
I
had
would
to
have
do
had to
both.
supplement with the audio
I
to
would
just
say
get
I
it
probably
down.
did maybe half and half. I might have read more than I listened, which is pretty unique. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty
I
good. I'm
mostly had to
impressed.
stop reading because my eyes hurt. And so, but I wanted to
Uh,
keep going with the book. So I remember, like, I got in the shower and I was listening to it, like, the rest of the book because
Nice. Yeah, you texted me. I finished it and I was like, "Oh, no, I gotta finish it now." Because I was ahead of Rachel like the whole time, which was
yeah.
really, that's kind of different. Normally it's the opposite. But so I was very proud of it. And I was like, oh, she beat me. I can't wait to hear the ending of the book. So yeah, if it weren't for the podcast, I feel like it would have taken me at least a month to read it.
Yeah, totally. This like pushes us to finish these long books. It's really
No,
good.
it's really good.
Yeah. So when it comes to themes in this book, I wrote down there's honor and loyalty are huge, especially for actually for both sides, for her with the Rattan,
Ah,
challengers. Like, that's why there's a lot of double crossing in here because they have to be loyal to their tribe.
yep.
So to speak.
There's
So
a
any
lot of
other,
holding back.
yes, I know so much.
Miscommunication trope.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
You
Yeah.
always, they always have to throw that in there, the
But I feel
authors.
like with them, there was a reason behind it. Like, it bugged me less because they had these missions they both had to
That's true.
fulfill in different ways. So, and him being the
That's true.
patre was a big deal. Like, if it wasn't the patre, it would probably be different. But because he was the head of the family, it was,
Mhm.
yeah, big deal.
Yes, I
Protect the
agree. That does help with the miscommunication trope. It's like, okay, you got all these like super valid reasons.
yes.
Both sides do. Yeah, it's true. They both had to be loyal, and just that conflict, like they love each
Mhm.
other, but they are holding things back. I can't wait
Yes.
to talk about details in the spoiler section with kind of the end.
Yes.
There was a good plot twist. that I did not see coming. So
it was a good ending, I think. Definitely cliffhanger that it ends very, very end with, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I had no idea what was going on there. And you never responded to me.
I know. I realized you asked me Marco Polo, and I was like, oh yeah, I never said anything.
I
And then I was
almost
like,
texted you, but I'm like, okay, we're gonna talk about it in 24 hours. Just chill,
because
Liz.
I reread it and I was like, I don't know what's going on either.
I read it
I have nothing to
I
add.
read it at least 2 times, trying to figure out what it meant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be vague on purpose to like get you to read the second book.
Yes.
So, okay, content ratings. Oh, and the only thing that we didn't really like that I wrote down was that it was so long. That was the only thing, honestly.
Yeah, same with me. And as the switching back and forth really fast was kind of hard, but manageable.
Yeah,
Manageable.
that's true.
It's okay.
Yeah.
That was like a minor thing. Okay, I'm gonna be doing these just off the cuff. Is that the
Okay. I was gonna say like 4.5 out of 5.
You're like, wait, did you update these? This will be a surprise.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
language, I gave it a 0 out of 5 because I couldn't remember anything.
I'll give it a 0.5.
Okay. Get up it.
There's like very minor curse words in here.
Okay.
It's a very young adult.
Yes. Yeah.
So
it can I just say
which
it
is
was so refreshing to read. I felt like this was one where
same.
like it was like very interesting and drew you in and it was so good, but like finally something with like, okay, I could recommend this to anyone. Like I would let my kids read this book. Like that.
Yeah. And I enjoyed it just as much as the other adult books that got a little too detailed for us.
Yes,
Yeah, it's like you
yes.
can totally enjoy the romance storyline just as much.
I think I
but
enjoyed it
everybody
way
has like
more.
their preferences and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we read 2 adult books fairly close together. Like we had Rebecca in the middle.
Yeah, that's true.
To kind of soften it up a little bit, even though that was kind of a heavy novel as well, but for a different reason. But
Yeah, this was like not as heavy, even though there was some heavy aspects, like some themes, I guess, but it definitely did not feel heavy. There was a lot of lightheartedness and comedy and stuff. So
yes,
what
I
about
think I would, yeah, for sex, I would give it the same. I would give it a 1 out of 5.
okay.
I think.
Yeah,
There's
there's
like hintings towards it, but I don't even think they don't come out and
yeah,
they're not very straightforward about it. Like
yeah,
one of her friends, they're like, oh, did they do it?
that's true. It's very young adult with the way they do that.
It's very young adult in that arena and just very like implied with one scene, but yeah, there's really not a lot of detail at all. So safe zone for sure.
Yeah, and the main characters actually, because she talks about this, they don't have sex. Like at least, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they did at all in this book. Because she said that he wasn't pressuring her. So I'm like, wow, that's unique. I was totally expecting them to, honestly.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like a lot of young adult novels that happen, even though it's like a lot of them are closed door, like you know that it happens. But with this one, like you really know that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Until I think like after the book is ended, I definitely think it happens then. But
yeah.
Well, spoiler.
I started listening to the second book just barely, like first chapter, and I think they have at that point. So
yes, that's what I'm saying. You could like you kind of fill in the blanks, with some things that are kind of said near the end and what's happening. But
yeah.
Okay, so for violence, okay, why don't you go first while I think about it?
So I don't know what to do because like there's a lot of action stuff in here.
I bet the books before this, the Remnant, what's the title of the book that's part of this world?
The
Remnant
Chronicles.
Okay, the Remnant Chronicles. I wonder if that's a lot more violent because in this book they talk about this huge war and they talk about all this violence and a lot of death, but they don't go into detail about like how it happened, or there's not like an actual big, I don't know. I'd probably say like 2, because there's kind of some intense things that do happen.
Yeah, they get the caravan gets attacked, And that one was a little more, that was probably the most
Intense.
yeah, violent one. So I put a 2.5 out of 5. Like, even though there's definitely
Yeah.
like action scenes and stuff, it didn't feel really gritty. Like, yeah, it's just the vibe of this book, you know. It didn't feel as violent,
Mhm.
even though there's stuff that happened. Like,
There's potential for it to be extremely violent, but
yes.
they definitely um approach it to where it's not as yeah, it's not uncomfortable to read or anything like that. So I
Mhm.
think that's good. 2 and 2.5. Drugs and alcohol. I don't know.
I say,
One.
yeah, one out
There's
of
like
five.
there's a fake drug, some substance abuse.
That's true. The birch wings.
Some fake drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a
There's
lot.
they drink mead. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, content is not too heavy on this book.
yeah.
Very nice. Very nice switcheroo for us.
Right. And we're not here to judge. If you like the steamy, go for it. Like, that's great. Just
Mhm.
I like to have a palate cleanser and just not have to.
It's nice to switch it up.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So I'll read the quote that Liz and I both really liked, that was very you could tell why they had this in the book, like where they got the title. So it says, every exchange of words between Jace and me seems like a dance. A step forward, a step back, circling, both of us leading, anticipating, wondering what the next move would be. He didn't trust me any more than I trusted him. Because they're both thieves
Mm.
in different ways.
Dancing back and forth. Yes, I loved that part. And that's kind of near the beginning. Um
Do you feel like he was a thief though? I guess she saw him as,
she felt like he was a thief. Did he yeah, that's a good question. Did he ever identify?
I don't think so, because he felt like
I
he
don't think
had,
he considered himself a thief.
yeah, because the Ballingers have been there since the beginning. And
He
so,
considered himself like a protector
yeah,
of his people.
yeah,
But I don't know.
I don't think he
I
was.
think it's the fact that like she viewed him as that
Yeah,
and that was such a huge part of her identity too, that they were just dancing around their stories and
yeah,
backgrounds and their loyalties and everything.
mhm,
So
yep.
okay. Okay, I don't think this one's a spoiler. I kind of was thinking about waiting to keep this as a spoiler quote. Oh, speaking of themes. Well, I don't really know how to say this as a theme, but like it, like this kind of goes with loyalty, but like motherhood a little bit, like family. I mean, this goes with family, but
Yeah,
like Cassie talks about her mom throughout the book, and I feel
that's
like it's just a huge
true.
part of her, and it's yeah. So we're gonna just push it to the spoilers actually, because I don't want to. I feel like I kind of have to explain the quote more, but so
Okay.
go ahead. Do you want me to do the next quote? Even though
Yeah.
I think you picked this next quote.
Yeah. Go for it.
Um, Love didn't even seem like the right word to explain how I felt about her. The word seemed too small, too used, too simple, and everything I felt about her seemed complicated and rare and as wide as the world.
I love
And
that.
that's Jace.
Yes.
I love it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a good
Before we go to the
one.
spoiler section, if there would there be an actor that you imagined for Jace if this was made into a movie?
I don't know. Orlando Bloom.
I can see that actually.
But like the Orlando Bloom, 20 years ago, probably in my
Like,
head. Again, like we're too old. I need to catch up on like my pop culture. Who are you thinking?
the reason I'm thinking of this is because we're watching One Tree Hill, but the guy who plays Lucas, Chad Michael Murray, I
Of
think
course, it's always Chad Michael Murray.
I
Yes.
said him for another one in a different
You
podcast.
said that for Just Ella.
Oh, you're right. I did. That's funny because we weren't even watching One Tree Hill at the time.
Okay. And Jace has like dirty blonde hair, right?
Uh-huh.
And of course, I kind of envision him having dark, long hair, but that's her. She's got like the jet black hair.
Yeah, her hair is black.
Um, Chad Michael Murray. It always like circles back.
Everything goes back to Chad Michael Murray for me.
Hashtag Nathan Scott. Team Nathan.
And I'm Team Lucas.
I think every episode we're probably gonna like hit on something from One Tree Hill. I think just a tiny bit, even if it's just a little bit.
Just a tad.
So much a part of our lives right now. One Tree Hill.
Only 20 years later, you know.
We're just 20 years late to the party. That's okay. Yeah, but I'm having a hard time picturing Chad Michael Murray with long hair. That's my holdup.
He didn't have that long hair. He had like shaggy hair, right?
Oh yeah, I guess it wasn't that long, but it was I picture it kind of like, well, at least to his ears. Because it would like get in his face a lot in the book.
True.
But
another actor. I'm thinking Tom Holland because I saw Spider-Man recently, but he would not
because he's everywhere. He wouldn't be a good one. I know, we'll have to think about that, or maybe like ask
Ryan Reynolds. Could you see Ryan Reynolds? Like a younger version.
Maybe. Again, I keep picturing Ryan Reynolds with just like a clean cut too. So, but I love Ryan Reynolds, so he could probably make it work. And
because he's like funny, like Jace
really
is always
great.
like kind of like Jace has a big heart and is funny, and I feel like Ryan Reynolds would be a good one.
Yeah, I know. I just loved his character.
Me too.
Yeah, it was fun to get to know the characters in this book, and I'm so glad there's a second book. That's always nice when you just like get to know and love the characters, and you're like, yay, we get to keep going.
I know. And that says something for a 500-page book, and we're like, give us more.
We want to keep going. Yes, exactly. That's just so true. Of course, at the same time, you're like, wait, but they're happy and they're together, and you know there's going to be more conflict.
Yeah, that's true.
In the second book, whether it's between them or something else trying to get at them or pull them apart. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. All right, you ready for spoilers?
Let's go.
And we're back.
If you're back,
then this is the spoiler section. So if you haven't read it, or if you don't care about spoilers, that's fine. You are welcome to this section.
Consider yourself warned. We're going in. Okay, so let me start with that quote.
Yes,
that I held back on. Just because I just feel like her mom, I mean, obviously, because that experience with losing her mom, like that just kept coming back throughout the whole thing. And when she when she was like finally sharing about her past, like her true past with Jace, that scene where they were like screaming at each other and she was falling apart, and like the two younger siblings came to the door.
Oh, that was
and
so
she like was strong and held it together.
Yeah.
Anyways, like I just love watching her like slowly fall in love with his family, like in a kind of a guarded way, but like it still happened. And whenever like the mom is concerned about them after they're injured, this quote kind of came afterwards. Cassie said, sometimes you can't begin to know everything you've lost until someone shows you what you might have had. So just seeing like Cassie seeing Jace's mom like interact with Jace and the other kids, and even towards her, just hurts her heart so much, because it's like she never had, she was only 6, so it's like all those lost interactions, all the lost nurturing, the protection, she didn't have that. And I mean, that's also a one reason of many that she loves Jace so much, is like he's just a protector towards his family. And that's something that she missed out on. Like she had to protect herself from the beginning, basically. I mean, you're only 6 years old.
I know.
So
and it made her so strong, and she like, she obviously had to be really, really good at like sleight of hand tricks and everything, because otherwise she would literally die. But it's still like, thinking of that little girl just being all alone. And
I for sure would have died. I would have died.
Yeah.
And not funny, but like Jace was just looking at his younger siblings and thinking about himself even. And he's like, I can't imagine having to survive that young, like in that kind of situation and
Yeah. And the
poverty.
Ballingers, like their world just has so much more wealth to it, which is interesting because that was another part that I really, really liked, is that they had the inscriptions from the Ballingers that are on the walls, like at the beginning of each chapter. And like they started out with nothing. Like they were a band of kids that were like just trying to keep scavengers away and stay alive. And that's what the Ballingers grew from, which I thought was so cool.
Yeah, like that
So
was their heritage. And
yeah. So they weren't always
oh,
wealthy. They started
that's
out
true.
where Kazi was and where the Vendons were. So
Yeah, I loved the history, learning about it, and just
yeah.
the survival and how they like had to burn all the paper and the books, and so they recorded their history like on the walls. Yeah, like you
Yeah.
said. And
So
how what's her
cool.
name hated Grayson Ballinger, and they ended up I'm like, did you about Jace was like, and this is my favorite part. And it was
Yeah.
like Mira or something saying like,
Meandre or
I
something.
hate Grayson so much. Like he's a horrible person.
He's vicious. He's looking at me right now. I'm just like, that's
And Jace is
hilarious.
probably like, okay, I think Cassie, you and I can relate to this a little bit. But yeah, Cassie was like, didn't they end up married? And he's like, yeah. Oh. Oh, we kind of forgot about the dog. Oh, the dog part. She got bit by the
Oh
dogs, or the dog was kind
yeah.
of violent too. That was kind of intense.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, 2.5, I think, is
I
pretty.
think it still stays, yeah, but
Yeah.
that part was like, oh, geez, that sounds
That's true.
awful.
Yeah, there was a lot of like this is just a really good adventure story. There's a lot of peril, I guess you could say. Lots of
Yes.
peril.
Hmm.
So, okay, do you
And the
think
romance just makes it better.
oh yes, yes, spices it up. So they're kind of vague on how she and her friends became Raton, and like the fact that she spit in the queen's face. Do you think that they go into that in the Remnant Chronicles at all? I'm curious about
Okay,
that.
my friend told me that the Remnant Chronicles, and maybe I've already told you this, is a backstory of the queen and what
Okay.
happened to her and how she came to be. But I was wondering, like, is Cassie in those? Is she? I feel like she's probably like, it's probably before Cassie's time, but she might be in it. I don't know. That's a good question. Like, if more of Cassie's backstory, or will we hear about it in the second book? More
Maybe.
detail, because
That's
like
true.
there were a lot of questions. um I mean, some questions about, yeah, her and her friends and how they came, like especially her friends. It was really vague on like how those other two girls ended up in the castle as well,
Yeah.
and they're training together because they're all the same age, even like well, close in the same age, like even Grizz and Eben, they're all, aren't they like 19 or maybe 20? Like they're all really young.
Yeah.
So how did the
Middle age.
queen, why did, yeah, why did the queen, and how did the queen like find this group of people? Why are they all young?
Right.
The queen sounds young, so maybe she just wanted people really smart and really good that were her age or younger. But I
Yeah.
loved the queen. Did you just love like kind
Yes.
of getting to know? We don't find out her name till like the end of the book.
Yeah. Which I'm sure people going into it that have read the Remnant Chronicles, they'll know who
They
they're
know who it
talking about.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. But I loved that, like I got actually nervous for her when like Kazi sees her stomach that's flat and she's like, oh no, she's lost the baby again, but she had the baby.
Yeah, she's
And
like, no, come follow, come over here. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
she had the baby. I
Oh,
just
and
feel like
then
they have a really like special bond, like close bond, the queen
yeah.
and Cassie. And I want to kind of learn more about that. I want to learn
Yeah,
more. It made me like wanting to learn more about the queen and her
me
husband
too.
too.
Yeah. Well, and I loved that the husband went over to Jace when Jace was like, hello, anyone gonna get me? And then he like walks over, he looks exhausted. He's like, if you wake up my baby again, you will die. Like,
Yes. As moms, we can totally relate to that.
yes. Yeah. That was so funny. Yeah, stuff like that. Like this really tense part that you're like not sure what's gonna happen, but there's comedy and there's love
Yes.
and there's just a lot of of delicious texture to this book. I just really liked that.
Oh, I like that. Delicious texture. Yeah, there's some unexpected interactions at the end of the book. Like Jace is so thrown off with the conversations that he has with the queen and the king. He's like, is this a trick? What's happening?
They're gonna let me go. They're gonna give us status as
And
a country.
I loved that they shared Cassie's point of view as well. And I love that the queen knew that Cassie was in love with him. I just
Mhm.
that goes to show how much she knew, like how well she knows Cassie,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because you could tell that Cassie didn't tell her, or maybe Cassie like specified this, but like she didn't tell the queen she was in love with Jace at all. But
Yeah.
the
I
queen
don't think
like
she
could just
did.
tell there was something going on.
Yeah.
So oh, I loved that. And then luckily Jace picked up on what the queen was trying to do whenever she was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I can trust you.
And he's like, I
Can I
don't think
trust
you can
you?
trust me
No, you
either.
can't. And Cassie's like shaking in her boots. She's like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Jace? Of course she can trust you. I love
Yeah,
it. I love it.
that
Like,
was
even
really
though she's
good.
so smart, she was like not catching on at all to what the queen was doing. And the
Yeah.
king was like smirk, or the king was even knowing what was going
Yeah.
on. I loved it. Okay. Do you think Cassie's mom is still alive?
Yes, I think so, personally, because they left it open-ended so much. I bet she is. I bet she's
Yeah.
gonna come
I
out.
wonder if she's gonna come into play for the second book, as well as the dad. Like, who's Cassie's dad? Oh,
Yeah.
and then they hint that Cassie has some sort of gift. This was also really vague. Like, there was a tiny bit of magic in this book, but it was so vague. Like, people have certain gifts.
Yeah. Like of being like a dreamer, or like there's a healer, and then there was a, what were they called, where they have visions basically.
So, yeah, and so one of her friends of the Raton had a gift. A
Yeah.
dreamer. Was one of them a dreamer
Yeah. Like
or
she
a
had
seer?
a seer. Sorry. That's what I think it's called, seer. But yeah, it's like
Okay.
a
And they just
dream.
like barely touched on that. And
Which I
yeah.
think that happens with the Queen of Venda, because I just read the synopsis of the first book, like not like what happens, but like the back of the book of the Remnant Chronicles, and she
Mhm.
was supposed to be a seer, but she wasn't. And so maybe there's more magic in the Remnant Chronicles, and they didn't have as much in this
Maybe.
one.
Yeah,
So because
maybe.
it seemed like Kazi could see ghosts, right? Like it talks
Yeah,
about
like what was Kazi's gift that they were hinting at?
seeing dead people.
She can like sense yeah, she can sense ghosts,
Yeah.
but they never really like helped her do anything in this book.
Right. They just
It kind of
distract her.
added a
And take her out.
creepiness to it.
Yeah. Or she sees death, but I didn't know if that was like a metaphorical thing, or like she literally sees like the grim
Yeah,
reaper.
like death is personified a little bit in this book. Do you remember that part where, or there's a couple parts where like death is like calling her name or reaching out to her, and she like is like saying, no, not yet.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
and I
not
wrote that
ready.
down because that's so not yet, not today. That's exactly what the guy whispers to the bird before the bird comes back to life at the very end of this book. So
Oh,
he says, not yet, not today. And it was a hymn. So, because they're trying, and we know it's not Cassie, because like in the note, they're like, Jace, Cassie,
Jace
anyone.
Cassie.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so who do you think the person is? Like her dad?
I bet, well, it's someone who knows Jelaine, and he gave Jelaine a promise. I'm guessing it's Nash. That's just a
Who's
guess.
Nash?
The little boy.
Oh, okay.
I feel like maybe, I don't know. I feel like he's meant for more.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Who's okay, how old is Nash supposed to be in this book? Because there's
I think
two
he's
little
like
siblings.
6. Like, right? Isn't he pretty
And then
young?
who's the girl?
Lydia.
Lydia. Okay. So Lydia's maybe 7 and he's 6.
Yeah, I think they're really close in age. Yeah, because it says, let's see, he didn't know if it would help, but he had promised Jelaine, and he always kept his promises. He lifted the bird to his mouth and whispered against the feathers, not yet, not today, then threw the bird into the air. Its wings snapped taut, catching the current, and it flew away from Tor's watch. It was so cool. And so he scooped it up with his bony fingers and cradled the bird. So his
Yeah, and
bony, like, I don't know. It could be
yeah, I'm
another
like, who has bony fingers in this book? That no one was described with having bony
No.
fingers.
I
But
always
that's an interesting thought that maybe it was Nash.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm excited to
know.
learn more about her family. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, the Ballinger family, like
Yeah.
his family. Because the women in the family seem so strong.
Yeah. I love
You definitely see
Verlin.
the vulnerability of who?
Verlin.
Jalen.
No, Verlin, his mom.
Oh, the mom. Yes,
Yeah.
the mom.
She's like so strong. Like she's a nurturer. She's strong. She takes care of her family. She fights for them. Like
Yeah,
she's
she's like a nurturer, but a fighter.
yeah. Like I feel like I
Yeah.
could relate to her a lot more than I mean, Kazi's awesome, but
Like
I
talk
don't
about
know
a
how to
scary
fit.
mother-in-law, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true.
hi. I hope you like me.
I
You're
know.
gonna order me to be executed or something. I'm just joking. But she was just kind of intense. Yeah, and just strong.
Yeah.
And but yeah, the sisters were very strong. I mean, you see is it Jalen? You see her kind of break
Jelaine,
down. Jelaine.
I think, yeah.
Jelaine. But like Priya is sassy as ever.
Mm-hmm.
At the
And
end when she yelled to Kazi.
She was
I want to
mad.
know what that I hope they talk about it in the next book. But like what is Kazi and Jace's like what's their entrance into that to the hit back to his home gonna be like?
Yeah.
Of course, I hope they get there and see because this is implying that they're gonna get back and something tragic is gonna already have happened.
Right. That's what
What
I
I'm worried
thought.
about.
But they
Yeah.
know that everything's okay with Kazi. So maybe someone sent ahead like a what are the Valkyrie or
Oh,
whatever
that's true
that's
because they're
called.
saying Kazi, Jace, so they
Yeah.
must know.
That they're
Yeah,
okay.
so many questions with
I
that last
know.
chapter.
So
Like she
good.
had to include some type of cliffhanger
Of course.
because it was like that perfect ending when they're in the wilderness and about to do it.
Do it. That was so funny.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think her friend gave her? Is it Snove? Snove?
Sinove.
Is it Snove or
Mhm.
Ren? Who gave her like the box and they're like, you're gonna want this?
Oh yeah. Which one was
What
it?
do you think what do you think it was? I
I
kept thinking it
honestly
was some
wonder
type of birth control.
that's what I thought. I was like, is it like condoms? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know.
like, but what in this world, this fictional world, what they use is birth control? But it was definitely, I felt like it was implied, or if it was like lingerie,
Oh, that's true. It could be. Yeah.
but I thought of birth control as well. Because the Ballingers are supposed to be really fertile.
Yeah. Right. That's true. Yeah, that is very true.
um,
How many kids did Verlin have?
she had seven maybe, and two died. Okay, so there's the twins, there's Priya, Jalen. How did we pronounce
Jelaine.
her name? Jelaine. Jelaine. Okay, so twins, Priya, Jelaine, two youngest. Oh, maybe she had nine because there's
Jace.
seven living. I feel like there's seven living because
Did
there's
you say
Jace, Samuel, the twin, two youngest, and the two sisters. Did I get them all that are alive?
so? Aram was the twin.
Aram, Samuel,
Jace.
Nash, Lydia,
Oh, Mason.
Jace.
Oh, but Mason's not
Oh,
relevant.
Mason's an adopted brother.
Yeah.
That's right, Mason. So there's eight technically that are living, and then so 10
And two.
kids,
Yeah.
two
Wow.
died.
That's crazy. A lot of kids.
That was a lot of kids.
That's a big family.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I forgot about the box though. Like what was in that box? That
I know, it's so funny. I'm like, oh, we know what's gonna happen. I mean, they're traveling back by themselves.
right.
They
They're
can
in
finally
love.
be together.
Yeah.
No one's in captivity. They don't need to be chained together
Yep.
to fall in
Exactly.
love because they're already in love.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
yeah.
I love this is random, but I loved them talking about the Venden settlement, how he moved them to such a better location and how the two worlds were colliding again, the Vendens and the Ballingers, and how they were eating separately. But then Yurga, I think Yurga,
Yes.
right? And was it Samuel?
Oh, who was interested? One of the guards was interested in her. I can't remember
The
who.
guard, I thought it was one of the brothers. But Samuel's dead now, right? He died at the very end.
Okay, that's what the last chapter says, is that Samuel's
Yeah.
dead.
Oh yeah, Samuel is dead. They're banging the
Okay,
door.
so Mason was into one of the Raton girls. I don't
Okay.
remember who was
No
into.
way.
Oh, it's Gunner. He's a guard. He's like a bodyguard. He's into
Oh.
that Vendon
No,
lady.
Gunner's a brother.
Gunner's a brother?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Then
Yeah,
there's
he
then
was a
there's another
nasty
sibling we
one.
missed. Okay, he's the mean one.
Yeah. Yeah, he
He's
was
a
the one
brother?
that had what's his face that had Zane, and he was like, okay, you're gonna have to either trade these people or guy that you
Oh.
like. That was so dirty. Like,
And he covered his mouth whenever he covered Zane's mouth when Zane was going to say something. So he was going to give some information. And Zane and
I forgot that.
Gunner kept him because he was leverage.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
Oh man.
Gunner. Okay, I totally forgot he was a brother. Because
Yeah.
the author did such a good job for like how many characters there in this book.
Yeah.
She did a good job like helping us get to know all of them, because by
Yeah.
the end of the book I really liked Ren and Snow.
Mhm.
I don't know. But yeah, and there's just so many like side characters. Really,
Mhm.
think about it. You have all the Ballinger family members, you have the other two Raton girls, and then you have the older Raton, like Eben and Natira.
Natia.
Natia. Like
Yeah.
there's a
And
lot
they're
of side characters.
married.
Hmm.
Yeah. That was so sweet that Jace hired someone that could make sage cake just for her. I felt
Hmm.
like Jace was a lot. I mean, granted, he had less scars in his background to like keep him like to hold him back like Kazi did, but he was like so forthcoming about his feelings with her. I feel like he
Yeah,
was
he did
very,
put himself more out there, like
yeah,
because he
but
was
for
the one
good
that was like, "What
reason.
is this? What is this,
Yeah.
Cassie?"
Yeah.
It was really good. Like when I was reading it, I was thinking like, "I like this, but it's really long. I like this, but it's long." But then talking about it, and when you finish it, you're like, "No, that was really good."
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things about it, and the ending was a really good ending too. Like I kept thinking, how is she gonna wrap this up with Jace in captivity? Like he's a
Uh-huh.
prisoner. Things are looking horrible for their relationship. And I was like, we're nearing the end of this book. How is this gonna like resolve at all?
Yeah.
And she did a great job.
I actually like didn't really think that. I figured that because the queen what like definitely respected her, and remember I kept talking about how the queen would find her like hidden in the walls of the sanctum city or whatever,
Mhm.
and she would be like, yeah, I used to come here all the time too. And like it just seemed like the queen, I just felt like, okay, things are going to be fine when she gets to the queen. Like Kazi doesn't think so because she doesn't
Uh,
like see herself as an equal or whatever, but the queen, you could just tell, even though you never like really get to know her that much, just from stories that Kazi tells or remembers. I was
mhm.
like, oh, Jace will be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll work out.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
yeah, they just
question
had
for
so
you.
much hatred towards you. Like there was so much bitterness and between them, and Cassie and Jace both just kept saying like there's no way past what's happened. And I was like, what are
It's
we gonna do?
true. It's true. Yeah, I did wonder about the relationship. Like that was a lot of backstabbing, that happened. Like they
Mhm.
literally were
Both
facing off,
sides.
like at when they were trying to get the captain and his cohorts away. And
Oh,
the Ballingers are one side, the Raton on the other. That was tense.
ugh. So obviously those bad guys left another bad guy or two back by the Ballingers. Something bad happened.
Oh
Okay, do
yeah.
you think the king that everyone thinks is dumb? What's his name? The king of Oh, do you think he's not as dumb as people are saying?
Yeah, I think it's a mask that he wears.
That's what I
Personally.
was thinking. Like he's just kind of playing the fool and like the young silly king, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, there's something sketchy going on between him and Paxton. Yeah,
Hmm.
there's this book, the ending of this book leaves you with a lot of questions.
Yes.
The king of Eslanda or something.
Yeah. I think it's Islandia.
Islandia. Yes. I was trying to find it on the map. I used this map so much when I was like even
Wait,
near the
Do you
Where is
have
the
that
map
map?
in your book? It's at the beginning.
I only
You
have
have got
half.
to have this map.
I only have half the map.
Oh, what? Wait, turn the page.
Yeah, that's why I was so
wonder if that's
confused.
a
I'm like, nothing is
typo.
on here. I'm missing half the freaking map.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I used this so much
Oh
because
my
I was
goodness.
like, it really helped me.
Because this doesn't have that much. And so I was like, why did they put this? I don't know where anything is.
You're like, this isn't helping me. Why is this not helping me? Oh
Oh
my
my, okay,
gosh.
show me again. Is it the very beginning?
Yeah, it's literally like this is part of the front of the cover.
My cover is white. What the heck?
Whoa.
Oh my
That's
goodness, that
so
would have been really
funny.
nice.
That is so funny. I wonder how that happened. Oopsies. You should like message the author, like, hey, look what happened here. You should talk to your publisher,
Seriously, that's like a
publishing
huge
company.
So
You're
for
like, I had trouble getting to know this world you built because hey, half your map is missing. You go, I would have struggled immensely.
I'm not very good with like maps in general. Like my sense of direction isn't great. And so I'm just kind of like, whatever. It's
Same. I'm horrible with direction, and I never really thought of myself as like a huge visual learner, but then I'm realizing maybe I'm more of a visual learner than I thought because like I use maps a lot when I read fantasy fictional books that have maps, and I think it
yeah.
really helps me get to know the world. So I was
I know
like,
with Mistborn, I definitely used the map. I felt like that was helpful.
oh yeah,
So
I
it'd
think
be
I
nice
remember
if they
using
had
that.
the map with it.
You're like, that would have been nice. And then I actually, there's another map in the very back, which
Oh
I
yeah.
did not really look at very much. Do you have all of that map?
Is it
I mean,
Hell's
oh
Hell's
my gosh, you're missing that one too.
that makes me so mad.
You're missing Grayson Tunnel,
Yeah, it just says Hell's.
Tor's Watch. Hey, this is really cool, actually. I didn't look at this when I was reading. Not to rub it in, Rachel. This map is really cool. Look at this.
Okay, I'm
Okay,
gonna
so
have
any
to
of you listening to the podcast, come over to the YouTube channel so you can check out her missing map.
on two different
Very
maps.
entertaining.
Well, at least they were equal with their lack of mapping on both maps. It's
They were
not just one.
consistent. There you go.
Oh,
Oh my
that's funny.
gosh. So funny.
So, how long
I
did it
want
take you to figure out that the guy making weapons was the captain they were looking for? Beaufort, and his last name is like Ilarian or something.
It took me a little while.
Same here. Like I kind of thought maybe, but I wasn't for sure.
I felt like I was kind of confused with that part of the story at first with who the captain was and what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were being vague on purpose, or I was just missing things, but I was like, what did he do? And I think that's where the Remnant Chronicles, the backstory of the Queen, it's going to give you so much more information about the captain and what happened in that war
Yeah.
and all that. So maybe that's part of the reason why I was like, I don't fully understand what they're talking about. But yeah, especially the part where they didn't want him to take the weapons. That was a huge red flag.
Yes. I was like, that's
I may have been kind of suspecting it before that part, but I don't really remember.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest part for me too. Like, oh, that's weird that they're not letting him take it or wanting him to. And Jace is just like, he's ballsy. Like he's just like, no, I'm gonna take this. Goodbye. You know, like
he is.
There's a reason why he's the patre, you know?
Yes. And it was cool to see both sides of that because he's like really tender and sweet with Kazi.
Yeah.
And loving, but when he needs to be, he's like so tough and
he will
just
cut off people's ears,
and he will like torture people if he has to. And I'm like, wow, how can you be both? I guess you can kind of be both because Jace is being both. And like, yeah, kind of cruel, but just. That's what it seems like. They're intense and they will lay down they will scare people and do things they need to feel like they need to do, but he was not a bad guy. Oh, and I loved going back to the settlement. Like I loved how he was like super grouchy about it. And then like, oh, I'm gonna be there for a day. And Cassie's like, just a day? And he's like, yeah, I have people that I can ask to do it, and I'll make sure I'll follow up, and I trust them, they're gonna do a good job. And he gets there and he's like totally invested
Yeah.
emotionally. And oh, there was significance to that place too, which I didn't realize. Like he had
Yeah.
gone there with his dad growing up, and like, yeah. And so it made me wonder, like, maybe him and Cassie one day will live on that land a little bit,
Maybe.
like
Yeah.
raise a family over there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought
That
that
was
was
really
really
neat.
sweet that he was like, oh, let's do this and let's build this. And he was like
Yeah.
really wanting to make it good.
Yeah, he goes all the way. I loved that the vending guy, like the old vending guy, was like, "Yep, it's good soil," and he's like telling Kazi, "No, it's amazing soil." That guy, like,
He's
it was
like,
just,
yeah, this is okay.
it'll do.
It'll do, I guess. It's like, no, this is actually amazing. Go on. Cut me some slack.
Yeah. That was,
Oh,
oh, there are just so many good parts. Like, even though this book was so long, it was just really good. It was a good book.
there were a lot of good parts.
Yeah.
And I can't think of like a part that wasn't really necessary. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Maybe the Minden settlement stuff, but I
But
think
that helped you get to know. Yeah, that was kind of long. That probably
yeah.
didn't need to be as long, I guess.
Yeah. But it was a
Um,
lot of development of like seeing how Jace was a good man and they were part of his protection. Like the fact that he made a blood oath, he put blood on the coins that he gave to them and the
oh
settlement.
yes.
So yeah, I mean it was necessary. It's all necessary.
It's all necessary. It's all in there. It's important. Did you see that plot twist coming with the family like faking that they were drugged by the birch,
No, I did
whatever?
not see that.
Like
Did
even like
you?
how did he fake it so good to where Cassie totally believed him? That
Yeah.
he must have been a really good actor with like falling asleep or being sleepy. Yeah, I
Hmm.
was totally surprised when they like all came out and she's like, "What? They knew." All of them played along, like even Jelaine. But I thought that was a good twist.
Yeah, that was
And
good. Well, and he was like, "You drugged children, you drugged Lydia and Nash." And she's like, "I didn't put anything in their food." Like, because yeah, she still has honor. She's not gonna do that to little kids. So like they were just sleepy because they were kids. So
they were just tired from the day. So did Jace replace like so he switched
yeah, he
the
put salt
drug
in
with
it.
salt and so
Mhm.
they put salt in the food
Yeah,
instead of the drug. Okay.
I guess so.
Oh, I thought that was funny and
Yeah.
unexpected. So
I wanted to go and just be part of the Ballinger family. Like the Rattons were great, but they're not a family. You know, they're
yes,
close to a family, but I just wanted to be part of that family.
I know they really grow on you because at first you're like, this is who are these intense like people who are strangers in this book?
Yeah.
And then you just yeah you get to know them and what
Mhm.
they stand for and their history. And yeah, and that's when Cassie like really softened when she was learning about the Ballinger history
Yeah.
from Jace, like just giving her that perspective and listening, having an open mind and heart. She was like, oh, okay, there is some validity to this. Oh, and I just love the ending, how they get to become a kingdom.
Yeah. And
Love that.
he says, you know, it's not the 13th kingdom, it's the
It's
first
the
kingdom.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so ballsy.
And she's like, okay, all right. She like agrees. Yeah.
Yeah. The
He's
queen thing.
ballsy. I like it. That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's a perfect way to describe Jace.
That is Jace. Yes.
Ballsy Jace.
I love how they got connected with being literally connected with their chain, you know, at their ankles that they are having to, you know, that trope, like you said, the close
The
forced proximity.
forced proximity.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was perfect. The fact that they hate each other so much and then they have to stay connected or they have to keep each other alive because they don't want to
Mhm.
be dead weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the banter was funny. Yeah, it was good. I loved it. I loved the dynamics with their relationship and the character development and the action. was good.
Yeah. Oh, well done.
Good choice.
Well done,
Yay.
Mary E. Pearson.
Yes. And going, we always mention Novel Bound, I feel like, but Novel Bound podcast, they interviewed Mary E. Pearson like a year ago or something, because almost a year ago, they read this book and they loved it. And so I'm wanting to listen to their episode. Of course, I want to finish the whole series because I'm worried about spoilers,
Yeah.
but they like interview Mary E. Pearson, talk about this book and everything. So
Yeah.
that would be
Okay. I
fun
want
to
to listen
listen
to that
to.
too. Yeah. They
Yes.
had some really good guests. That's awesome.
I know. It's fun. Yeah. The Love Hypothesis. They did not interview the author for that one, but they just talked about it. Oh,
Okay.
sorry, really quick. The Love Hypothesis. I've been meaning to put this on Instagram, like in our stories, but did you know that the author purposely wrote Adam and what's her name? Shoot, in the book, the main character. I'm blanking, and we just read it.
Oh,
Anyways, they're supposed to be based off of like Kylo Ren and Rey. Like
really?
Adam is supposed to be like Kylo Ren, like he is supposed to be that character. So it's kind of like a fan fiction type of story based off of their characters.
Really? But they're like scientists.
I've heard of a couple people saying that. Yeah, I mean they do different things, but like as far,
Right.
and so she even named him Adam, like after Adam Driver.
Oh, no
And like, the
way.
cover of the book, he's like built and described like how Adam Driver looks and
That's
everything.
so
And
true.
his character is supposed to be like Adam Driver's character in Star Wars. So
And what was the main girl's name?
I know it's bothered. Oh, Olive.
Olive. Okay. That's not close to Ray.
Yeah, that's not close to Ray at all. But yeah, I heard that from like 2 bookstagrammar sources. I mean, you call it what it, I mean,
Wow.
I don't know.
That's
That's too
awesome.
reliable. I didn't actually look it up myself from the author, but I guess I believe other people saying it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Learning about
Yeah.
that after the fact,
Well, and it references in the acknowledgments or whatever. She talks about people who encouraged her in the fan fiction that she was writing. So that makes sense. I didn't realize it was like that specific to that book, but
Yeah.
that's cool. Nice little tidbit.
I know, a little fact for everyone
Yeah.
that has read The Love Hypothesis or that wants to. It's
Mhm.
about that. So which is cool. 'Cause
I
I love
can see
Kylo.
that.
I love Kylo
Picturing
Ren.
Adam look like that actor. Totally.
It kind of fits, right?
Yeah.
It works.
That's
So
awesome.
okay, so
Well,
anything else? Am I
I think
forgetting anything important?
I think
There's
that's
so
good.
much.
I
There's a
know.
lot to talk about from this
Yeah.
book.
Everyone
I'm
should
just,
read it. Go
I'm
read
excited
it.
to read the second one.
Me too.
Are you going to read the Remnant Chronicles then? Are we reading it together?
I really want to. I really, really
And I
like
think,
this series.
yeah, and I think we should do a podcast episode on it.
Yeah, I think that needs to happen.
Mhm. For sure.
Probably a couple years behind the game.
Yeah, that's how we roll. We try to pick up some of the like newer stuff, but on
Yeah.
average we're like 9 to 12 months behind, which is fun because a lot of people have already read it and it's more
Yeah.
fun to listen to our podcast.
There
So
you go. Yep, we serve our purpose.
it all works.
All right. Well, that's all for today. Make sure to comment on our Instagram at 2babes in a book to let us know if you've read Dance of Thieves.
Make sure to tell others about the podcast. Leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app because that's how people find us podcasters. It's a big present to us. Now remember, in the words of Holbrook Jackson, never put off till tomorrow the book you can read today.
Thanks, y'all. Now go stick your nose in a book.